Hey everyone, Ryan here, and welcome to Ask MandRproductions, episode 238. If you have a question you want to answer on next week's episode, make sure to leave it down in the comment section below, and if you enjoy, hit the like button. I cannot believe it is October already. It's time to get in the spirit of the season. I mean, October 4th only comes once a year. Let me know in the comments below what you're doing to celebrate October 4th. It's a great holiday. Our first question comes from Zachary, and he says, has your opinion on the ambush on Ferric set changed at all after the first few episodes of Andor? So this is a set that I was pretty high on, despite its relatively high price at $70, and the lack of figures. And the lack of figures, I still think, and has been confirmed to me now, is the biggest issue here. It should have more of the, I think they're corpos, or whatever the guys in blue suits names are. There just should be more of them. Probably 2 more, bringing the total to 5 figures for the set. 2 more would just feel right to me. We could get the other main guy, the guy that's a little bit chubbier, that's yelling in his face, that's kind of become an instant meme. I love that. And then one of kind of the regular dudes in the background, doesn't really matter which one. The only other thing I would say, accuracy of set wise, is the hat on Cyril is the wrong hat. Given that they purposefully made the 2 12th troopers inaccurate, I wouldn't expect them to get this right, but the hat for like the leading officers, I guess, of these guys is supposed to have an orange brim with the orange stripe above, while the regular troops just have the orange stripe, and in the actual Lego set, they don't have the orange brim. So that's a small additional criticism, I guess, I would have of the set, if anything, but that I think is something I wouldn't expect them to get right on a Lego Star Wars set, honestly. By the way, I really love Cyril Karn's character. I've seen a mixed reaction with Andor, some people hailing it as the best thing since sliced bread, and other people like, this sucks and it's boring. I understand the boring aspect. I've very much enjoyed my time watching it. It's just a much different type of Star Wars than we've been getting. I just appreciate that for whatever reason, and I think a lot of other people are too. It's unfortunate that some people aren't enjoying it, but you know, what can you do? Next question from Doug says, do you think we'll ever get a Saw Gerrera Minifig? It's really unfortunate we didn't get one when Rogue One came out. I just kind of don't understand why we didn't. He could have fit in any of the Rogue One sets, and they even made Rogue One sets a couple years after the movie came out, right? So they could have put him in there. He was also in Star Wars Rebels, and they never made him as a character from there. So it's kind of questionable to me why that character in particular wasn't made. They didn't recently come out with a Black Series one that I got, and that's really nice. But as far as a Lego figure goes, he is supposedly going to show up in Andor. I think he was name dropped in one of the previous episodes. So if he shows up in Andor, that increases the chance of the figure being made. Probably we will, but who knows in what set or at what time. Vanta says, how was the hurricane? Did y'all get hit? So I live on the east coast of Florida, and fortunately the storm was relatively weak by the time it got to where I live, in particular in Melbourne, Florida. It was a little rainy, a little windy, nothing crazy. It didn't even rain that much here, I would say. It was like kind of sprinkling the whole time, you know, like that's kind of what it was here. Literally the worst thing that I saw happen around here was our neighbor's tree across the street fell down, which happens, I guess. It's a tree. Luckily, it did fall towards the street too, and so nobody got hurt. It didn't damage any property, and literally the same day, a couple guys were out there cutting it apart so that people could drive on the road again. So unfortunately, the same could not be said for the west coast of Florida. I saw a pretty insane video of the storm surge, and for whatever reason, I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've dealt with hurricanes, you know. I've never really comprehended how insane a storm surge is until I saw this video. I think it's in Fort Myers Beach, where, you know, it goes from being this nice area to literally like under 15 feet of water. Like the ocean is now on the land. Like I understood the concept of storm surge. I just don't think I had ever seen it in that way. And that was a bit of a revelation to me. So if you're really bad for anyone on the West Coast, I know there was even some flooding in like the Orlando area, and I'm sure other areas got hit pretty hard, but just from what I saw online. If anyone's interested, I'll try to find a good, reputable charity to donate to help out with that if you're interested. But very unfortunate to see some of the impacts the storm had in Southwest Florida. I Hate Jack's Films wants to know what kind of music I listen to, anything we wouldn't expect. Just curious. So I have a playlist of my top 20, top 10 best songs. One of my favorites that most people I would say don't even know about is a song from Nakey Jakey. He's another YouTuber. He actually has a good like half dozen songs that he's made, and I just think they're all bangers, and they're very much worth listening to. If you look him up on Spotify, his name is Jakey on there. But like this song South Dakota just hits. Don't eat glass because it's bad for your teeth. It's just beautiful. Some of my other favorites of all time, Pumped Up Kicks. I Ran by a Flock of Seagulls is a vibe to me. I also like a lot of Eminem and Drake, and there's tons of other songs that I like listening to, but these are my top 20 top 10 favorite songs. Bursdall says, have you seen the new 24-foot, 7-meter long Imperial light cruiser Lego model? I haven't, so I'm gonna Google it now and give you a reaction. I can't find it. Oh my God, there it is. This thing is, wow. This would not fit in my bedroom. It fits full-size Lego TIE fighters inside. That is absurdly large. Wow, dude. I can't even imagine. That is one of the biggest, coolest Lego Star Wars MOCs I have ever seen. Like, transporting that must be such a pain, because anytime you move from one place to another, you have to take it apart and rebuild it, basically, like in the different sections that you built in. That's very cool. That's one of the coolest things I've seen. Fritz says, do you think LEGO fans are losing out by having competing building block companies producing themes like SpongeBob, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, etc., or do you think those companies handle the themes better than LEGO ever could? There are themes that I would ultimately rather have LEGO have than any other competing building block brand. SpongeBob is definitely one of those. I love SpongeBob. I like LEGO SpongeBob. I don't have a lot of the sets, but if they were to bring it back, I would absolutely buy more, and I haven't found myself buying really any of the Mega Constructs SpongeBob sets that they did, and I know there's another company now that I think has the SpongeBob license. Now, as you probably know, I used to be a 100% purist. LEGO was the only thing that mattered to me, and anything else that wasn't LEGO was sacrilegious, like literally. I have a different mindset now that things like this, yes, I would rather have LEGO have SpongeBob than anything else, and certainly Star Wars. Like, I wouldn't want to see Mega Constructs end up with Star Wars necessarily, although I think they do a great job with like Call of Duty, and obviously LEGO would never do Call of Duty or even Halo. They've done some really cool Halo stuff recently, and LEGO would never do Halo. But yeah, I think the competition is going to be a good thing here, because now LEGO can't just sit on their laurels and do nothing when other competing brands are going to be out there wanting to do the license and maybe offering the licensee a better deal, or perhaps offering to make cooler things or more things, versus when you see something like LEGO, they might be like, yeah, we're only going to do one set for your theme this year, and maybe the brand wants to do more than one set, right? Or more than one thing. And so I could definitely see that being a thing that's good for the consumer. The only bad thing about competition in the building block space for the consumer, to me, is that it would increase licensing costs. So let's say LEGO wants to license LEGO SpongeBob, but here comes Mega Constructs, and LEGO will license it and offers 10%. And Mega Constructs come along and is like, well, we'll give you 15% of the profits to let us sell LEGO SpongeBob. And then LEGO, now if they want SpongeBob, has to offer 20% or whatever. So now it costs more to the consumer to buy the same product versus before. So just a small possible flip side view of it, but ultimately I do think it's a good thing that there's competition for LEGO. The Lego Brit says, with the UCS Razor Crest releasing without a lightsaber promo alongside it, like the last two big LEGO Star Wars set, does that mean it's the end of this era, or that era? I don't, like, the thing with LEGO Star Wars is it can be so finicky with like when they do things or why, or like they could do 2 years of a thing, and it looks like they're gonna do this thing for a long time to come, and it's gonna be great in the lightsaber promos, or even MIDI scale in 2009 and 10, that was awesome as well. And then it just falls off the face of the earth, they never do it again. They'll never give you an explanation, no matter how many times we ask, it just disappears off the face of the earth, and now you get no promo. Versus before we got a promo, right? They just increased prices, and then took away something from the consumers. That doesn't sit well with me. It probably doesn't sit well with a lot of people. So I don't understand why there is no lightsaber promo. A Darksaber buildable promo, much like Luke's lightsaber and Yoda's lightsaber, would have been an amazing touch for this set. Or they could have done any other random lightsaber, because the first lightsaber promo didn't even like go with the Mos Eisley Cantina. It was just a promo. And I thought there was going to be a minifigure polybag promo for the second half of this year that was going to come out with the Razor Crest. Had it from a pretty reliable source that it was supposed to be happening. We had the set number and everything, and it seems like it's not happening. So I have no idea why no lightsaber promo this year, but they did increase prices and they took it away, and that really sucks, like extra bad. Nito Burrito brings up a good point, something I actually hadn't given any thought to. Says, now that the UCS Razor Crest is made, which is the first TV show-based UCS set. That right there, I didn't even realize it was the first TV show-based UCS set. So that's pretty cool. Round of applause for the Razor Crest, building a new path for itself. It says, do you think LEGO consider making a UCS Ghost? They can definitely do one as much as the 2014 Ghost goes for nowadays. Yeah, people pay more than what the UCS Razor Crest cost for that 2014 Ghost now. It's absurd. They probably already have considered a UCS Ghost. I would go so far as to imagine they've probably worked on some like sketch models or preliminary models just to kind of see what you can do with a model of that size for the Ghost. And it's something that I could imagine them doing with the Ahsoka show if the Ghost is something that is a big part of that show. Like, I have no reason to believe they wouldn't highly consider or even bring that to market, given that the show will probably be very popular and the ship would have a good role in that show. So hopefully that's the case, but unless it shows up in some form of media that's pretty strong in the coming, years, I would guess no Ghost, because I don't think Rebels has that much behind it. Like, they're not making Star Wars Rebels sets today, they're making Clone Wars sets, right? Rebels is less popular than Clone Wars, and they haven't even made like a Clone Wars UCS set, like a Venator. The Ghost to me is a no-go unless it's in Ahsoka. No, it fell! My decorations! Not going anywhere now. Michael says, do you think the UCS Razor Crest looks better than all the previously existing Razor Crest mocks, example, Ferrix, and others? I think it's a complicated thing to say what looks better when it comes to mocks, because mocks do something that LEGO obviously can't with some of their part combinations, and they have no regulations as to how they're built, and they shouldn't, because that allows them to offer something that LEGO can't as far as the look of a set. I tend to find when LEGO releases UCS sets that I prefer the look of them to the custom models a lot of the time, and the Razor Crest here is no different. I think that the custom mocks that we have seen for UCS Razor Crest do look very good. A lot of people have made some very nice things. However, me personally, I would just rather have the LEGO one on display. I think it's the one that looks the best to me, and to that degree, it's somewhat subjective. H. Wilson says, when you were a kid, did you ever consider selling some of your smaller sets to buy larger ones like the UCS Millennium Falcon? I know this is something I always thought about doing, but never actually did. It's not something that I think I ever seriously considered. I certainly did sell things as I got into my teenage years because I wanted to buy other things and always ended up regretting it and rebuying it, but that's because I've ended up becoming like a real completionist collector. There's also a version of me that maybe would have become a more casual collector, at which point I probably wouldn't care so much that I had sold things. But as an 11, 12-year-old with a relatively limited versus what I have now collection, I would think of trading a bunch of my smaller sets much like a very lopsided NBA trade, where if I am the Celtics and I want to get Kevin Durant, well, the Nets aren't just going to trade you Kevin Durant. You got to trade Jason Tatum, you got to trade Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, Marcus Smart. I mean, you're trading the house for one thing. And as nice as that thing is, it doesn't replace all the other nice things you had. That's the way that I probably would think of it, and probably wouldn't recommend many people do that themselves, or at least younger kids if you're thinking about, selling a bunch of your smaller things to get this one bigger thing, because you'll probably end up regretting it just because it was so many cool things you had before and now you only have one thing. Iker says, do you think LEGO Lord of the Rings will actually be returning, and if so, do you care? There is a rumor going out that Lord of the Rings will be returning with some brickheads and potentially a direct-to-consumer set. What that set is, we don't know. It could be the Tower of Orthanc. It could be the other tower. I can never remember the name of the other tower. I just know the Tower of Orthanc because it's the LEGO one, right? I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that has helped me learn so many names of like Star Wars ships over the years is the LEGO sets. Like when there's LEGO, I know the name now. Helps a lot. Anyway, the rumor comes from a very reliable source in Promo Bricks, I think. And so Lord of the Rings is absolutely going to be returning next year as far as that's concerned, if that's the case, right? If that's where the rumor comes from, it's happening. As far as like a bunch of bigger sets, it seems like there's just going to be a couple of brickheads and then maybe one big set. So hopefully it's something cool. I would assume it would be really dope if they do a big Lord of the Rings set. I know a lot of people haven't been very high on the new show, but it has reinvigorated a lot of interest in Lord of the Rings in general regardless, and I think that means the set can do well and a lot of people would be interested in it, including myself. Brickshow says, do you think a Republic Gunship will come out in 2023? I think it's 99.9% happening. I am inclined to agree with you. I think that they see the demand for a Republic Gunship. They made an ATTE. Gunship would probably follow that. And so yes, I think a Republic Gunship is probably coming out in 2023. The real reason I picked this, though, is that some people will go and ask customer service about, future LEGO sets and if they'll make them, and I've gotten this a lot recently in DM, so I just kind of wanted to address this. Like when the LEGO Twitter account replies to a comment saying, please make a gunship for next year to go with the ATT, which is an excellent set, and LEGO, the Twitter account, says, we never know what our talented designers have in mind, be sure to follow for all the news, it means nothing. It just doesn't mean anything. It's a copy-paste that they will say to anyone about anything. It doesn't matter what your request for a set is or minifigure. If they're replying to you, it's usually like a copy paste thing like that, or just some variation thereof that's like, yeah, we hear your request, we'll pass it along, and like, who knows what actually comes of that, right? It is probably something that's going to happen in 2023 regardless. I just wouldn't try to connect the dots that way because you can ask them about anything and they'll give you the same answer. We'll pass it along to our designers. You never know what's next. Like, that's just what they're gonna say. They're not gonna say no, because it could be like a 5-year-old and it's gonna hurt their feelings. Zachary says, what do you think about the 10,000 piece Lego Eiffel Tower? Will that be the biggest Lego set ever? In my mind, it kind of will be. It's supposed to be like 10,001 pieces or 10,100 pieces or something like that. Unfortunately, the biggest Lego set ever will probably for a long time be the world map with over 11,000 pieces. It is such a lame set to have be the biggest Lego set ever. One of the coolest things about Lego for a while was like they had the UCS Millennium Falcon that was the biggest set ever by piece count. And then in 2017, they came out with the new UCS Falcon that was then the biggest Lego set ever by piece count. And then I can't remember. There's been a few biggest sets ever, and every time they've been the biggest set ever, there's been like a legitimate draw to that being the biggest set ever. And now that this is the biggest Lego set ever, it's just not that cool anymore. Although I suppose like somewhat symbolically, the world should be the biggest Lego set ever because it's everyone and everything, and that's like a kind of cool thing. But like as far as like something that looks dope on display and like has a real imposing factor to it, this ain't it. Petit says, did the I Love New York Yoda Big Fig, I remember you made a video a while ago, come with an instruction manual? It'd be so cool if you shared it. I obviously understand not wanting to keep it rare, thanks. So it did not come with an instruction manual. It is completely glued together. It is one of 3 ever made. And I have reservations about even sharing like enough different angles of it where people could reasonably rebuild one that looks exactly the same, because it creates a little bit of an issue with people creating counterfeits. It's not like there's any parts in that are exclusive, and you could, if you wanted to, build one that looks reasonably close, but you could never build it with like the exact pieces that are glued in the exact same spot as the one that I have that's official from Lego. And so I think that works as a good countermeasure to people creating potential very legitimate looking counterfeits, because it would be relatively easy. And now obviously there are only 3, so if like 4 showed up for sale tomorrow, we would know something was up. And I also know one of the other 2 people that have one. So I have one other person has one, and then some third, I have no idea who or where, person has one. And yeah, if there was an instruction manual, I probably wouldn't share it because it is one of those things. It's one of 3, you know? You would want to keep it rare. Is that selfish? Yeah, kind of, but it's one of 3. But that's just a hypothetical. Instructions don't exist for it, you know? But yeah, it's one of those things that as a collector, you definitely tend to want to keep it rare for yourself. I've even had like a friend ask if they could borrow it to create like a model 1-to-1, like exactly, and I'm like, I don't think I can let you do that. A few pieces are gonna have to be different. You can't make it exactly the same. I have a bit of a reservation with that when it comes to something that rare. So I'm sure some people think I have the wrong outlook on that, but that's the way I look at it. And thank you for your question. That is going to be it for this special October 4th edition of Ask MandR Productions. Again, let me know in the comments section below what you are doing to celebrate this wonderful holiday. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let me know any questions you have for next week's episode. Deuces.